This is a quick video on how to use Sibelius. This isn't going to be a creative task. This is not composing. This is just remembering how to use Sibelius. Most of you have downloaded recently Sibelius First, which is a free copy. It doesn't have the same sound qualities as the version we have at school, and it also doesn't have the same flexibility. In other words, there are things like you can only record 4 staves at any one time rather than a full orchestra. So there are some cut down things, but most of the ways of inputting notes using the keyboard are the same. I'm assuming you don't have MIDI keyboards set up at home, so when I talk about keyboard, I'm talking about the typing keyboard in front of you that any laptop or any desktop will have. And you can put notes in with a mouse or the keyboard. So let's get started on how to use Sibelius to create Arriba. So Arriba is a piece of music that I'm going to give you a copy of. And you can't copy from the sheet that I'm going to give you because it's just a sheet. It won't copy in the same way. So what you're going to have to do is use it to make sure that you copy each individual note into Sibelius the long way around and get used to using it that way. So the first thing is that we need to, let's get rid of this. First thing is that we need to open up a new file. So file, new. Next thing is we want to use a blank template. There are lots of other fancier templates to get you going, but for most of the pieces that you're going to use, you're going to start from scratch. So let's start with a blank. Double click on it. Now we need to put some instruments in. So we go to Home, Add or Remove. Let's have a piano. So close down Woodwind on the little triangle there. We can double click on keyboards, or you could just single click on the edge there and double click on piano. Now you can see that the piano uses 2 staves, the right hand and the left hand. So that's 2 of our 4 used up already. We're going to go back to Woodwind and add an oboe. This time I'm going to single click on it and add it to score. That's the other way of doing it. And alto saxophone, add it to score. And you can see that the alto saxophone actually gets put between the oboe and the piano, and that's where it should be. It is possible to move these up and down, but that's in the right place already. And now there's our score template. So let's put the key signature in. So the first thing we need to do is think about the shortcut key, which is K for key signature. There is our G major 1 sharp key signature, and click at the beginning for it to go in. Let's do that again so you can see it. K for key signature. There it is. Click on it. Arrow goes blue. Click at the beginning. Same with the time signature. T for time signature. It's not Control T or Shift T. It's just T. There it is. Time signature 4/4. Click at the beginning, and there it goes. A lot of students say, how do I get extra bars? Well, actually, you can add those at any time. You don't have to get your piece exactly the right number of bars long. How long is our piece? Let's have a look at the sheet. It's 10, 11, 12, 11 bars long. So we could do this now. What have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we need to add 6 more bars. So if you add Control and B for bar, Control B, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we should now have 7, 8, 9, 10. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 bars is right. So we've got the right number of bars, but you can do that at any stage. A lot of students also say, oh, but sir, the sheet you gave us has 3 bars on the top line, then it jumps down to it, or 4 bars, and I've got too many. You can change the number of bars on the line by clicking on the bar line and then pressing enter, and it's a bit like using enter in Word. It will just start a new line of text, or in this case a new line of score further down. So we've got our piano parts, sax parts, oboe parts. The alto sax is in a different key, but Sibelius likes to put everything in the same key so you can actually see what you're doing. That's really good. So we need a G over here. So I can click on the note, click on the rest, make it the right length rest by clicking on the dot, and just press G on the computer. Now there are several different ways of getting onto the next note. When the blue line is active like that, it means that Sibelius is ready for you to tell it what to play next. Now at the moment I'm telling it it's got to do some sort of dotted crotchet. Let's just tell it to do a quaver. Then if I press a G again, it will be a quaver this time. And it doesn't matter what I'm doing with my mouse, that's irrelevant. Just pressing that on the keyboard. But there is another way of doing it. I could just press the right arrow on my keyboard and it would go to that rest anyway. Then I could press a G and it will read it that way. Or lastly, what I can do is actually just take the note and find the right thing and drop it in. I don't like doing that so much because it's so difficult sometimes to find exactly the right place to drop it. I know I need two Ds next and they're crotchets, so I just click on the D, the crotchet, and press D on my keyboard and I can do it again. So I've got my first bar correct. And I would double check this because anytime you're about to copy something, it's really sensible to make sure the thing you're going to copy is accurate. So there it is. And I've just clicked into the bar to highlight it. Now I want to repeat that another time. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 more times. But on the 8th time there's a change. That doesn't matter because I can still make the change later. So I'm just going to press R to repeat. That's all it is. I've got it highlighted, and on my keyboard I press R and again and again and again, and I can keep doing that until I get to the place I want to stop. So that's bar 6, bar 7, go back and check the score, and bar 8 would be one more R, but I have to then very quickly, before I forget, remember that these two notes at the end are wrong. They're a note too low, so I just press the up arrow, move over, press the up arrow. And now I've pretty much got my bass line in. This bar, it's the same in both hands, an octave apart. But if you couldn't read bass clef, you could just drop the notes in, pick a quaver. There it is. Settle on the quaver. And let's have I can just press an A, or if I did, and that's the wrong A. So I can take it all the way down with the down arrow to the right note. So I could actually, if I don't know what note it is, I can just put it anywhere and just use the down arrow to get to where it looks the same as the score. It's not a good way of doing it because the best way is knowing what the note is in the score. But I could just do that and then drag in another note, click it down to the right note. That's a very unmusical way to do it. But you know, if you're stuck, you can find unmusical ways to work. And there's, I know it's a C, and the next note is the same, but actually it's a C sharp. Now, because the blue line is now the wrong side of that C, if I try and tell it to play a sharp, it won't do anything. So I have to sort of go back to that C. And when you go back, unfortunately, it seems to go back one note too far and then back again to the C. Now I can tell it to play a C sharp. It's blue, there's no blue line. If I want the blue line back, I have to press the C on the keyboard again to prove that I really meant that. And then I have two crotchet Ds, pick crotchets, tap D, and then press escape. I want to get rid of this blue arrow because it's dangerous. You can start to click notes in. Press escape. Now the note's still blue, but my arrow's not. I want one of these bars again. So Control C to copy, same shortcuts as Word, and Control V to paste. Control V to paste. So I've got my whole bass line in now. What do we do about the right hand? The right hand's slightly tricky to write in, which is why I've picked this piece for you to do, because it starts with a rest. I can tell it to start with a rest. Remember, tell Sibelius which part you're working on, the top hand of the piano. Give it a quaver to play, and skip the first quaver. There is the note that I want. Now, if I don't know what those notes are, I can just grab the note from here. So I have to make sure that I'm dropping it in the right place. And that's tricky. It's not the best way of doing it. Now, I need a chord. There are two ways of putting a chord in. I can draw in every note. And as I say, it doesn't matter if you put in the wrong note because you can then make it blue and use the up and down arrows to get it the right note. So that's one way of dropping the notes in with the cursor. But the other way of doing it is to put in the first note. So the first note, the lowest note, is a B. Now that's the wrong B, so I can move it down, or I can do Control and down arrow, and it will take it all the way down an octave. Control, down arrow for an octave. Now I know that a D is 3 notes above a B, so I can just press 3 on the number row at the top of my keyboard, and then I can just press 4, and it will give me a fourth above that. So you can use the numbers to put in chords, and if you get it wrong and you put in 5, it's not such a big deal. Just click on the notes, bring it back down again. So what you can't do is put in the B and then write in the D, because it will go, and the G, because it will start to write it out as a melody, not as a chord. So you can't just type in the notes as you would for a melody when you're trying to do a chord. You've either got to drop them in or type them in using numbers. So escape again, get rid of that blue cursor. Now I know that all of my notes in this right hand part start with a rest. So I'm going to hold Shift down, and then my cursor will start to draw squares, little boxes. And if I draw a box around that rest and the note, not the next rest, I can just press R to repeat it. The rest and the note repeats. The rest and the note repeats. And the rest and the note repeats. Now that's not quite right, is it? Because the notes change there. So I click on that one, move it up with the up arrow, do the same there. And it's a very quick way of putting in similar patterns. Copy and include the rest. So the next thing I need to do is I've got the same pattern after that. So I look at it again and think, well, where does it change? It changes at the same place as the bass line. So just click on it and press R and R and R and R and R, and just keep going until you've got to the right spot. And that is the spot where it changes in bar 8. So I look back at the score, look at bar 8 and think, okay, that note goes down to a B, that note goes up to a G sharp, that goes down to a B, and that goes up to a G sharp. Now I've got the right notes in. By the way, in the score that you're working from, this sharp isn't there. Sibelius can use a sharp, but don't forget that once you've got a sharp, it stays sharp for all that time. So that sharp can actually be got rid of, and it won't change the pitch of the note. It is still a G sharp, the same note. This bar is the same in the right hand, an octave higher. So if I copy it, Control C, paste it in there, Control V, but it's in the wrong octave. So Control and up arrow, and that gives me the right notes for that bar. And guess what? The last two bars are the same as all of the other bars at the beginning. Copy it and paste it and press R to repeat. So that's my whole piano part. So now I should Control S and save it, because I should have done this much earlier. And I'm going to give it the name of the piece. I'm going to call it Mr. Sego 1, because I've already saved a version of this. Okay. So I need to know, when you're looking at your score, that that you know what you're doing with the piece. So let's give it a title. When you right click into space, you get this menu come up. When you right click on a piece of music, you get a different menu. So generally right click into space for instructions. There is text. So there is title. Click on that and my cursor goes blue. Come up to where the title should be. You don't have to get this absolutely right, this click, because it will tell you it wants the title in the middle. And then you just type in Arriba. You need to put your name on it so I know it's you, and so the examiners know your composition's you. So again, right click into space, text, move over to composer. Right and left click somewhere near where you're going to compose and put your name in. And there's my name. So that's pretty good. There's a repeat sign, isn't there? So we need to get that in. It's a bar line. So we click on the bar line we want it to be, and then we go away from that bar line. It's highlighted purple in this case for the bar lines. and that means it's ready to be acted on. Right click into space, click on bar line, find start repeat, and there it is. It's jumped down to here now, which is sensible because it's the beginning of a line. And we want end repeat to be at the end, so left click on the bar line, move into space, right click, there's the bar line, there's the end repeat, and there it is. Once something's highlighted, get away from it quickly by left clicking into space, because once it's highlighted it can change. You can change it by accident. So you're going to see just how quick it is to put in the oboe part now. And I'm going to do this at fuller speed with 1 or 2 deliberate mistakes. Okay, so there's a crotchet. I know I want a B. I want 2 quavers, C, B, crotchet, D, and then 2 quavers, C, B, and I need a rest. This is where I'm going to make a mistake on purpose. I'm going to put my dotted crotchet G in now, and then I'm going to put my minim G in there. Now I've got the rest in the wrong place. So you'd think that you'd be able to just drag that rest to the right place, but you can't. Rests are fixed, notes are fixed in their place. You can move them up and down, but you cannot move notes left and right. Look what happens. It just wants to stretch the bar line, which is not a good idea. So you can't move notes or rests left or right. You can only move them up or down. So change the pitch. So if I want to get this in the right place, I've got no alternative but to get rid of it, put the right rest value back in by clicking on the keypad, go to where I want my crotchet, a dotted crotchet, and then make it a dotted crotchet and press G then on the keyboard. Now, because these 2 notes are tied together, I want to get rid of that horrible blue cursor for when I'm messing on. Highlight this note, press the tie symbol over here, and the notes are tied together. So then the next thing is that these 2 bars are pretty much copied, so I'm going to repeat them. Ba da da dee da dum ba. Ba da da dee da da. So that's exactly the same, except this note here is just a full bar semibreve on a B. Sometimes when you type a note in Sibelius, resets how the bars look, and then it causes it to jump. That's all that is. Then I need to go back to there and put the tie in, and I've got my 2 bars. Now the next 2 bars are exactly the same as the first 2 bars. Control Shift, hold them down, use the right arrow, Control C to copy, find the empty bar where you want to put them, Control V. Ba da da dee da dum ba da. These 2 notes are slightly different in this version, so we need to take that away. Backspace is good, and this becomes a G sharp, and there it is. So I've copied it and adjusted it, and this place should be ba da 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 dum ba. So select the quavers and type in the notes A, C, C, A, and then it is C, crotchet, 2 quavers, C, B, and that B is tied to a long B. And then I can sit back and look. Oh, it's wonderful. Hang on, I've got 3 bars rest here, and in my score, it's only 1 bar at the end. How is that? What have I done wrong? Well, I've started at the beginning. And actually, the oboe part starts with 2 bars rest. So it's easy to fix. Click on the bar to highlight it. Control Shift, right arrow, all the way through to the last note, 1 bar at a time. I've actually gone too far, so I'm going to start again. Control Shift, arrow, and do it more carefully this time, so I stop on that last B. Then Control X, which scarily makes everything disappear, but that's just cut, and then Control V will put everything into the right place. So the oboe part is now correct. Well, the saxophone part, let's highlight these again. Left click into the bar, Control Shift, 1 click per bar until you get to the last bar, and let's copy that, Control C. We're going to paste that directly into the sax part, Control V, because the sax part has the same rhythm as the oboe part, just different notes. In fact, mostly it is 2 notes lower. So let's do that all now while it's highlighted. 2 notes lower. Click, click on the down arrow. And all we have to do is go through and check where we got the notes wrong. This whole bar is an E. we want the whole bar to be a D. So click the whole bar, move it down a note, and that's fixed. This is right. This should be another D. So let's take that to a D. Let's take that to a D. And let's put in the tie. You have to tie from the first note to the second note. Okay, so that's fixed. And this is the same rhythm, but the first note, if we look at the score, it says E. So let's move that down to an E. And let's get this one and move that down to an E. E's and A's. Okay, and now that should be right. How quick was that? So let's go back and listen to the whole piece. Listen for things that are wrong. Now this should repeat back to here, and it should do it automatically. And there it goes. If you weren't sure that you had something right, you thought it sounded a bit clunky, you can just listen to a little bit of it. You could slow the tempo down, but one thing that you might want to do is just listen to the oboe part. Okay, I think it might be a wrong note, so you just go back. If you click into the oboe part and you press P for play, it just plays the oboe part. It doesn't play the other parts. So you could check the oboe part was right. You could check that the right hand of the piano was right just by hearing that. If you want to go back and hear any particular bar for all of the parts, click on a note but don't highlight the bar, and then all the parts will play. The space bar will start and stop. So wherever your green line is, the space bar will start and stop. But P for play is a really useful thing. P, play. Click on a note, P for play. So lots of shortcuts there. Let's run through them again. For the time signature, it's just T, and then select it and click it into place. For the key signature, it's just K, select it and click it into place. For instructions like changing bar lines or adding titles and composers, you right-click into space and select what it is you want, either the bar line or the text. For copying, it is click on it, Control-C, and then wherever you want to paste it to, click on it and Control-V. If you want to move something, you have to do Control-X and it cuts it, and then Control-V will put it in the right clef as well. If you want to, so Control-V for paste, Control-C for copy, and Control-X for cut, and then you paste it again. And the other thing is for repeating a passage, if you just highlight it, select the bar, Control-Shift, use the right arrow to extend it per bar. When you've got to the right things, you just press R and it jumps and copies those two bars and replaces the next two bars. So if I wanted to have this note again at the end, I would just press R and it would add it to there. So I hope that's made it nice and simple. I'd like you to now go to your Sibelius first, and it doesn't matter if you have 2 bars on a line or 4 bars on the next line, or it doesn't matter. What matters is you get the right notes in, the repeats in, and you check it against the score. And then I'd like you to upload it to Moodle, and I will check it against the score as well. So good luck with that. It should take you a while of fumbling before you get used to how to get Sibelius to understand your commands. But the things to remember are you cannot drag notes sideways. You cannot. You should never delete a rest. If you delete that rest, you'll get a warning. And if you click yes, it will go and mess up your rhythm. So never delete rest. You have to just delete the notes and start again. The only way of deleting a rest is to put a note in its place. And is there any other thing else you should be looking for? I think that knowing how to draw a box is very useful. So hold shift down, start very carefully where you want to be, so you don't catch anything else. Like I've caught a rest at the end and I've caught the 4/4 bar in. So if you're going to copy something, be very careful. There's the 4/4 bar. Be very careful to do it this way around, that you only get the bits that you want to copy, nothing else. And before you copy something and paste it in, make sure you've got it right. Best of luck, and hopefully you'll be running away with Sibelius very soon.